Hi, thanks for joining us. This is the season finale of Unlocking Opportunities. I can't believe it's gone so quick. Today is all around powering FE for all. Unlocking Opportunities is a joint NCFE and FE News season, and it's been great. And I hope you've really enjoyed it so far. But today, really looking forward to it. We're looking at impact and powering FE for all. My host, I've got Michael back, and I'd love to bring you back into the studio, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Gavin. A little bit mixed emotions. Can't believe it's the last episode of the series, but looking forward to Christmas now as well, which I'll have to
Yeah,
take.
we're all got a bit Christmassy, like we're all around this, which is good. I'm really excited about today because we're looking at everything from international competition and what we can learn from that, and how we can then bring that home like that cycle, but also how we can support neurodiverse learners and overcome barriers and unlock opportunities. Really, really cool. I know that NCFE had a recent social impact report. Why is it so important that we need? Because every day we can like keep running, and like trying to like get another wave of announcements and things that we've got to change and adapt. Why is it really important that we then look at the impact of what we're doing with further education and skills, but also the social impact? Why is it really important?
Yeah, well, I can certainly tell you our story and why it's really important to us. We're an educational charity first and foremost, and our purpose is to promote and advance learning. And a big cornerstone of our latest strategy is to grow our reach and impact. And to be able to understand that, we need to measure that impact.
Yeah,
It's there's kind of a few things to it really, and a lot of people do this way because it allows them to shout to the hills about the great impact that they're having, but actually we see it as a baseline. It's something to improve upon. It tells us where we are, and it tells us where we can direct our resources. So if we know that some of the things we do have a really good impact on people, we can double down on that. If some of the things we do don't, then we can redeploy those elsewhere. So I think, if you think about that widely for the sector, we're all here in one way or another to contribute to better outcomes for learners in both their education, their working lives, their personal lives. So we need to be able to find a way to measure that, and to work together to kind of beat where we are and to constantly improve on that.
yeah, definitely. Treasure what you measure is what a lot of people talk about as well, isn't it? Around how we can, if you're measuring stuff, you're able to sort of grow on that and stuff, isn't it? I thought some really interesting stuff coming out of the social impact report. I thought also around supporting key communities in different places was kind of cool. I was really interested by that. But for you, what were some of the key outcomes for you, particularly for like learners, educators, communities? What was the main thing that you sort of saw come out of
Wow, I mean, there was lots in there. Some stuff that we sort of knew, I'd hypothesized from. Some stuff that really kind of caught me by surprise as well. I was surprised. 60% of the centres who run our courses, the providers, colleges, are in deprived areas. We're serving a lot of the disadvantaged communities here. One of my big takeaways was actually, looking at the outcomes that learners reported on themselves and their outcomes. They were talking about, the things that we might expect from study and technical qualifications: improved job prospects, career progression, providing greater skill and knowledge in your role. But actually it's the other more kind of personal side of stuff, the increase in self-confidence, that kind of mental stimulation, that sense of fulfillment and sense of achievement, particularly for older learners. I think that really tells a story, because that is that spark of inspiration. It's going to that's going to drive that learner to make more advancements in their career and their personal lives. And I just think that for somebody who works in policy and is quite far removed from that direct delivery in the classroom, that stuff's gold to me, and it really kind of motivates me and made me realize actually what we do is so important here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, looking at previous shows and different things that we've looked at, the digital skills gap and having connectivity and stuff like that is really, really key, and be able to then unlock those opportunities for people. But also mental health come out a lot when we was looking at NEETs and overcoming those barriers for people as well. So it's interesting of how this is all interconnected. And one thing from this season is how interconnected it is to come through these challenges, really, and stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, should we bring in our guests in a minute? We've got two really cool guests, and two reasons that we've picked both Parisa and Charlotte is there's Charlotte Jones from Greater Manchester Learning Provider Network is going to be exploring lots of things around how we overcome barriers, but unlock opportunities for people with neurodiversity in particular. In a minute, I'll bring Charlotte in, and Parisa Shirazi from WorldSkills UK, looking particularly at what we're doing with WorldSkills UK, but the Centre of Excellence, how to learn from international, but how to bring it back and how to be able to help every learner and educator. So cool show today. So Parisa, I want to bring you in. Hey Parisa, how are you? Hey
Good
Charlotte.
Morning.
Morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Can I dive in with the first question, Gavin?
Yeah, go for it.
Great. Parisa, I'm gonna come to you actually. So we mentioned the Centres of Excellence project there, and that's a collaboration between NCFE and WorldSkills UK. I wonder, for those who don't know about it, could you just tell us about how it came about and what impact it's had so far?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. So the WorldSkills UK Centre of Excellence launched in 2020 in partnership with NCFE. And the reason why it was created was a kind of mechanism that we were able to share and disseminate learning through our competing and entering into WorldSkills International. So as a result of the biennial international competition, we were able to acquire a range of insights and techniques, but actually didn't really have a place to put them, particularly with regards to making sure that we can democratise access to world-class skills development. So since 2020, the Centre of Excellence was launched and really acting as a beneficiary to support the development of educators and young people have access to world-class training. We use our expertise on global advancements in skills to inform pedagogy and professional practice, and using that as a real driver to raise standards. And whilst we're doing that, we're working in collaboration with NCFE, who's using its knowledge of technical education to help inform and fulfill potential and positively impact more learners. So for us, it's a real kind of collaboration that's brought about significant impact through the last 4 years of running the programme. And as a result, not only are we delivering world-class teacher training, we're able to provide a growing network of educational institutions that range from colleges, independent training providers and higher educational institutions with access to the teacher training, networks for innovation and communities of practice that's really looking to kind of drive forward innovation in teaching, learning and assessment. And I think what's a pretty impressive kind of feat that we are very, very proud of is that since its inception, we've been able to improve teaching practices of over 10,000 educators across the UK. And as a result of that, we have positively impacted just over 200,000 learners since 2020. For an organisation of our size, in collaboration with NCFE, the world is our oyster, because actually the real high pent-up demand for access to world-class skills and training and development is there, and with a growing network of 140 institutions that we're working with, of which 30% are predominantly in areas of high deprivation, which for us is an ambition to look at growing that pipeline to make sure that everybody's able to access world-class skills.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really interesting. So 200,000, but also like the access into areas of that probably you traditionally think of got access is proper cool, isn't it? Like that brilliant. Charlotte, I'm really excited by that. That's really cool. What can we, it's going from competence to excellence, and I've heard that sort of term a lot of times, but it's like, how can we bring that in? We don't just want to be competent, we want to be like, so how can we deliver that? Charlotte, can we talk about the project you've been working on with Greater Manchester Learning Provider Network? I'm really interested in this. So like how you particularly been helping people with autism into apprenticeships. No mean feat, but also it's all of the other things that go with it as well. All of those sort of no's that they've probably felt all of their life that they can't do it. I'm sure there's a confidence thing in here as well. But also, what are some of those barriers that you've seen as well? Really love to hear more about it.
Yeah, perfect. So since 2021, we've been working in partnership with NCFE to deliver our Inclusive Pathways project. it's funny, so it did start off at kind of supporting autistic individuals into apprenticeships. I think one of the initial barriers that we found out quite early on, that apprenticeships were not quite right for everyone that was being referred. So we flexed the project up a little bit and actually thought, rather than turning those people away, who, as you said, Gavin, have probably had quite a few no's in their life in terms of kind of limits being put on them, actually flex the project, and we was able to support individuals into different types of vocational pathways. So supported internships, traineeships when they were still a thing, employer-led pre-employment programs. So I think, yeah, the initial barrier for us was kind of that flexing. Actually, apprenticeships in principle should be great for every autistic individual, but I think we learned very, very early on that every autistic individual needs are very, very different, and to just say an apprenticeship is going to be right for you it wasn't the right approach. So that was probably the first barrier that we did face. It was all around kind of a bespoke support package that training providers delivered. So a little bit of a hand-holding exercise again to build the confidence, to build the trust back up in the sector, because I think, as you said again, they've had so many no's that trust in the sector, education sector or health sector or whatever it may be, in the government sectors, it has diminished for them. And so it's about building them back up to say, actually, let's work with you, let's understand what your needs are, and let's find the right route for you. I think one of the biggest barriers was around communication, and that kind of came across lots of different areas. So that was communication around reasonable adjustments, and whether that's in apprenticeships or whether that's through the job centre or whether that's in employment. And in principle, again, that should be a really simple thing, but actually in practice, it's quite difficult, and it's quite a difficult conversation. Communication with parents, a lot of the individuals that we work with were kind of at the younger end of the spectrum. So working with those parents again, and I think they've got a lack of trust in the system. So again, building them back up to say, actually, no, in the FE sector, we really want to support. And again, around employers as well, I think employers is a massive piece of work that we probably still need to do. And that communication with employers, I think sometimes they've had a negative experience of hiring an autistic individual, and that's kind of put them off, and they don't want to engage, or they don't necessarily recognise the benefits that they may bring, and with the traits that they have, the artistic traits that they may have, the benefits that they can bring into the organisation. So yeah, I think communication across all those different stakeholders and partners was the biggest barrier for us in different senses, really.
Wow. And I mean, there's a lot there, isn't there? And you kind of realise the scale of the challenge there.
Definitely.
Nevertheless, I recognise that there's been some really good outcomes delivered by the project. And I wonder, what would you say to other learning providers? What are the lessons that they can take from this project about how they can support neurodiverse learners?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest one, what's surprised you, is around communication. I think not being afraid to have slightly difficult conversations and not being scared. I think a lot of the conversations we had with training providers initially was around, oh, I don't think I can say that, or oh, actually, I'm not sure. They don't want to look me in the eye and I don't know what to do. And it's about being confident in your own knowledge and really understanding the person who's sat in front of you. And I know we're talking about at the beginning around kind of all the policy changes, and I think it's easy to get lost in the sector when you're dealing with individuals, and if you talk to them and really understand them, then you're probably in a really good place then to support them going forward. So yeah, a big thing around communication and really understanding the person sat in front of you and how their needs, even if they've got the same diagnosis as someone else, their needs are going to be completely different. So that's one thing. Again, around peer-to-peer, so similar to around WorldSkills, but a lot of the answers are already in the sector. So how can we share and how can we collaborate? And I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but Oldham College have got a really great peer-to-peer offer through their ETF Centre of Excellence for SEND, and just getting someone in the sector but might be doing things slightly differently, get them to come and share and collaborate. So yeah, they're the biggest lessons learned for me, definitely around communication in those two different levels.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think this also wraps in not just to those that are neurodiverse, but everyone around having communication is key. Isn't it? How do we communicate? We're full of jargon, in FE and skills, isn't it? You need like a glossary when you first join to better understand what it all is. But also that personalisation piece. I think as time moves on, things are going to have to become more and more personal, aren't they? Around what we're doing with that. Yeah, really, really, really cool. Community of practice as well, I think, is really key. What you say about that as well, Shire. And Parisa, that sort of comes into what we've sort of got with the Centre of Excellence, really, isn't it? Around what we're trying to do with that. We've recently had WorldSkills Lyon, and it's glamming it. It's all of the different nations coming together. It's like if anyone hasn't been to a WorldSkills international event, it's very cool and it does inspire people. I work with my eldest, and he went to WorldSkills Calgary, and he was a little tiny tacker. He's going to hate me for this. He was on like oil rigs, and he was like in racing cars, couldn't reach the pedals. But it really inspired him to get involved in engineering. I know that we've taken things away from that and stuff, but like, why is it important that we continue to celebrate and champion skills? And how can we bring back all of that global excellence? Because it's amazing when you see the international stage of what people are doing. How can we bring that back to the UK more, but also share that? What's from some of your experience? I know you've been living this for years. So it's like, how can we sort of share this to everyone?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gavin. So first, I'd like to say that we are so proud of Team UK's performance out in Lyon back in September earlier this year, with achievement of a top 10 finish, which featured for us 3 silvers, 1 bronze and 12 medallions of excellence. Now that's quite a tough call to achieve, given that you're competing against, I think we had over 70 countries and nations competing in a range of different skills. So for the UK, it was a really, really promising kind of look at actually the potential that the UK has to offer in terms of the competitiveness of its technical and vocational education and training system. So for us, the platform that WorldSkills provides us, where we're showcasing amazing young professionals, so students and apprentices, gives us the kind of ability to kind of demonstrate the real prestige that technical education and apprenticeships have in the United Kingdom, and being able to offer that to young people to help them kind of motivate and inspire to consider what those technical routes may be. And we'd love to see UK governments and mayors using Team UK as the role models and alumni to really kind of celebrate and showcase the kind of potential of what TVAT has to offer. For us, it's also about looking at the kind of opportunity where, for instance, we're looking at being close to the top 10 is critical for us, because international benchmarking is essential so that we can kind of maintain that level of competitiveness, and being within that touching distance, particularly across the members or the countries who are performing well, who are highly competitive. For instance, we look at kind of exemplars of excellent practice with regards to Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and it's looking at where do we fare in contrast to those particular countries in a range of different skills, and what is it that we can acquire and learn. So through our international development programme, where we train and develop young people over that 18-month period, we're not just preparing them for competition, we're preparing them for life beyond competition. So for us, the transferability of the skills that they acquire, both from a technical and mindset perspective, are critical for their future success. So through the 18-month programme that we run, we trial different approaches to teaching and learning. As an example, we've been exploring self-efficacy and autonomous learning as a kind of vehicle that we're able to then bring that back into our Centre of Excellence programme. So whilst we're looking at a combination of both the pedagogical practices, so looking at how we codify the art of teaching and learning into resources and training and professional development for practitioners, we're also looking at the technical side as well. So looking at the kind of specific components around, why are, for instance, China so good with regards to automation, as an example? What is it that we can draw down to then bring that back into our system, both from an educational perspective, but also looking at how does that help inform policy as well? And especially if you're thinking about the most recent curriculum and assessment review, and how does that play a significant role in informing the work around that? So there's for us some really exciting opportunities that we've been able to kind of acquire and then package that through our Centre of Excellence programme, which is looking at, raising the game for teachers, trainers, but most importantly, students and apprentices.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I think, we've been asked all the time to be raising productivity. There's a 2% productivity like target from government that can only be done by skills. So what can we learn from those that are smashing it across the world that we can then like do that as well? I think it's cool. Charlotte, can I bounce back to you? Both really cool projects we're talking about here, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like it's very, very cool. We're looking, one is almost looking at our national sort of like how do we sort of move forward with productivity and sort of increase the en masse the skills base of all of our teachers, educators, and leaders and learners, but also then looking at the individual. I mean, this is really cool. So, Charlotte, one lesson would you say from your project you've been working on that you can maybe bring and share to everyone? It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think around kind of that awareness raising piece across FE, I think what we found is in specific training providers or colleges or whatever the setting, they probably have a couple of people that are really passionate about it, often because they've got a personal experience in the family or family friend, but actually that awareness piece across organisations so that everyone has an understanding and everyone, again, around that communication, everyone is able to communicate in a way that is suitable for that individual. Again, another plug, but we developed, as part of the project, we developed a CPD module that's free on the online Cash alumni platform, and that gives a very broad overview of autism and what you could look for in FE and some tips, and we've got some really good case studies involved in that, so that's a really good place to start as a kind of a broad approach to raising awareness across staff in FE settings. So yeah, that's the biggest one for me, I think.
Yeah, I think you had a really good point around communication as well, and like sort of being aware, isn't it? I think we're in an interesting stage. Like Matt Hancock, bless him, he's done some really interesting stuff with like early years with being, people are being aware of neurodiversity and neurodivergence. But if we can also do it from the other way, hopefully then we can just unlock opportunities and just add this out of the way of not being a barrier, because it shouldn't be a barrier, is it? It's cool. Parisa, what's a bring and share from you from the project of the Centre of Excellence and WorldSkills International in general that you could maybe share with because you shared loads of nuggets of gold there, but what's your one sort of like biggie that you'd see from the project?
I would say it's the transformative effect and the power of embedding world-class standards into everyday teaching practice. So actually, it's not just exclusive for a small or an elite group of individuals. Actually, it's available to everybody, all learners of all abilities across institutions, training providers across the country. And if I had a magic wand, I'd want to create a little bit more time for teachers to really kind of understand and embrace some of the amazing products that we have, and it really is quite simple. And I'm just like Charlotte going to give a little bit of a shameless plug here. We've developed an amazing competition-based learning framework which looks at supporting teachers and trainers embed the kind of pressure but rigor of developing young people and their employability skills. Sorry, still early in the morning for me. So our competition-based learning programme is an effective way to get the best out of students and apprentices, and that's available through our WorldSkills UK Learning Lab. But then also, if there are organisations on this call that are not members of our Centre of Excellence, we'd very much welcome the opportunity to have a chat to look at how you can get involved.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. From a personal anecdote, so Charlotte mentioned it, that people become ambassadors, and also you're very vocal when they come across someone either in their family or to unlock with themselves around neurodiversity. And I think also for WorldSkills UK, I was lucky enough to sit next to a guy in maths who was being primed up for the UK Olympic squad. He ended up being playing for Chelsea under Ruud Gullit. He used to pretend to be Ruud Gullit, but like the amount of training that he got, you raise your game. When I had to play with Mike, I was trying to play my skin to better keep up with this guy. And I think that's the same for everyone. If we're having real high level teaching and training with a colleague, is going to be bringing that back into their college and their training provider and their employer. It's massively important that we do everything we can to not just be competent. We want to be like global world standard excellence. I think that's amazing that you're bringing that in. That's amazing. We're nearly rolling out of time, but I want to ask, something picked out of a project, but if you could unlock one opportunity, what would it be, either in your project or just in general, Charlotte?
I think probably going back to my earlier point around employers, I think individuals are with us for quite a short space of time in FE, so we can create the most inclusive, supportive environments. But then if we're not working with the right employers who are then also mirroring those inclusive, supportive environments, there's obviously going to, that individual might be back to square one. So yeah, something around unlocking those opportunities with employers and getting them to understand, as I said, the benefits of employing an autistic individual and what they can bring to an organisation.
Yeah, really good point, because 80% of their time is going to be with the employer, not with the educational institution, isn't it? It's how do you support employers for that 80% of the time, the majority. Yeah, really cool point. Parisa, what would you want to unlock if you could unlock one opportunity?
I would want every teacher or trainer, so every educator in the country that's working with students and apprentices, to embed pressure testing as a means of supporting formative and summative assessment.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, very, very cool. Michael, we've covered so much in this season. I've loved this season. Picking up for everything that we've gone through, what would be your unlock opportunity for today?
Yeah, so look, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've probably stayed quieter than I have on any of the other ones because I'm taking so much in. And actually, one of the big reflections I've had is actually, people like Charlotte and Parisa, that they're out there unlocking opportunities all the time. And actually, what we're essentially doing is plugging gaps that are left by government policy, either not covering it adequately or not delivering. But let's be realistic. No government's ever going to solve every problem that's out there, and actually this is the great work that organizations in the sector do. So I think that's one of the big takeaways is actually we can all see the problems out there, and I see a lot of organizations shouting very loudly about the problems but not really doing anything about it. And actually some of the points that we've made during this last half hour have been brilliant for that. It's much easier to do things together, and that collaborative approach, I think, is really important. So we don't necessarily need to look to government to solve all our problems. We can work with one another. We can solve problems. We can build evidence bases on a lot of this stuff. So I think one of my big takeaways is let's be ambitious. Let's try and solve some of those problems ourselves. Let's work together. Let's measure impact. Let's share the learnings from all of that. But it's left me in a really good mood this morning, actually, because you think that some of the great work that's been done and the work that we can build upon going forward, I think it leaves me very optimistic about the future.
Yeah, it's very, very cool, and I 100% agree that the more we can all come together and share the best practice and the life-changing work in FE and skills, from like super Olympic standard excellence, that we could just bring that through for everyone, I think is absolutely key. We shouldn't just be they're competent. No, we want to be like Olympic excellent. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's what I want for the sector anyway. We're out of time.
I want to make, Gavin, is something Parisa said was about self-efficacy, and that's I think we've got an opportunity with this government and with the curriculum assessment review to reshape the system around that. What I mentioned at the start about the our impact report and the boosting confidence for learners, the learning to learn to take control of your own life, critical thinking, all of that stuff. I think that is what we should be aiming for in the system as a whole. And if we can do that, then we're not as reliant on orgs in the sector to solve those problems, because learners will be able to do that for themselves. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, teaching learners to learn and encouraging lifelong learning is key, isn't it? But if we could do that also at an excellent level, then even better. Not too big an aim, but aim high and aim well, isn't it, really? And I can't believe the episode's over, the season's over. Thank you everyone for joining us. Michael, you've been a brilliant host. Thank you. This wouldn't happen without people in the background, and I want to say a massive thank you to every one of the guests. Is going to want to say this thank you as well to Elliot and Sam from Team NCFE, Lindsay, Kim, but particularly Elliot and Sam have absolutely been rock solid on this. Danny from Team FE News, branding everything around this is all down to Dan and the unlocking and all of that, So yes, I want to say thank you to everyone in the background, because these shows don't happen just by chance. There's a lot of work goes into this. So thank you so much to the team in the background for that. And thank you, everyone. I hope you've got some real cool takeaways from this season, particularly from today, for us to better work with government, but also there's those things like Michael said, that we don't need to work with government. We can do this stuff ourselves, on how we can. I think the more we're equipped and the more we show that we are excellent, the more that the government is going to be giving us more and more and more. So I just wanted to just have that as an encouragement to everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Hope you have a really fantastic Christmas and a New Year period in 2025. Hopefully we're going to get a lot more answers than the questions that we're getting from government at the moment, but hopefully we can then unlock so many more opportunities for so many employers, learners, for us as all individuals. I just want to say thank you and have a great end of year, and here's to an even better 2025. So thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you really soon.
Bye.
Bye.